we can be seated and we can proceed with this side event co-organized with UNCTAD and the Indonesian government. My name is Raymond Nachtel from UNCTAD, and I'll be your moderator today. Your Excellency, Mr. Dr. Sandiaga Uno, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia. Your Excellency, Mr. Armanata Nasir, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Indonesia to the UN. Your Excellency, Maria del Carmen Smith, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Argentina to the United Nations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the side event on promoting partnership and digitalization in the creative economy, from survival to thriving in the post-pandemic recovery. I think I have an idea of what UNCTAD and Indonesia are meaning to say here, how difficult it was during the pandemic, but that the creative economy provided some opportunities out of it. But since I'm not the expert here, we have a very expert panel and very knowledgeable speakers, so we leave it to them to introduce the theme of today. So with no further ado, we have a statement by the Secretary General of UNCTAD, Ms. Rebecca Greenspan, and this statement is going to be delivered by Marisa Anderson, who is the Chief of the Creative Economy Program of UNCTAD. Marisa, yeah, right. Just press the button.
Yes. Good. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. So, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, my warmest welcome to all of you to this high-level meeting on promoting partnerships and digitalization in the creative economy. The event is jointly organized by the government of Indonesia and UNCTAD on the occasion of the high-level political forum 2022. UNCTAD is particularly grateful to the government of Indonesia for its partnership and unwavering commitment to enhancing the creative economy as a significant contributor to sustainable development. The government of Indonesia has led global initiatives to promote the creative economy. Indonesia was the leading country for the General Assembly resolution on the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development in 2021. Furthermore, in 2018, the government of Indonesia initiated the first World Conference on Creative Economy, in which UNCTAD was honored to participate as a partner. The conference was a resounding success. UNCTAD looks forward to contributing to the third World Conference on Creative Economy in Bali in October this year. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are facing a major cost of living crisis, a fragile and uneven recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, persistent environmental challenges, and the digital divide. ITU estimates that over a third of the world population did not use the internet in 2021. The majority of the digitally deprived are women and girls. Only 39% of the rural households have access to the internet. And women, girls, and rural communities should be our torch bearers for the evolving creative economy in the years to come. What can the international community do to stimulate the role of the creative economy amid these challenges? Digitalization in the creative economy promotes cultural diversity and inclusive growth by stimulating individual economic actors, entrepreneurship, and innovation. This, in turn, creates the ground for attracting investment and contributing to grassroots structural transformation. UNCTAD's upcoming publication, entitled Creative Economy Outlook 2022, will explore these interlinkages. Digitalization is bringing about changes in business models, consumption patterns, and content creation processes in e-commerce and creative industries. The subject is indeed complex, and policy recommendations are not always clear-cut. It is increasingly evident that fast-paced global, technological, and social changes are rapidly expanding the scope, potential, and uptake of the creative industries. And while digital solutions cannot always replace the value and beauty of a live show, we need to understand how digital technologies and tools have transformed not only artistic and cultural practices, but also the entire creative value chain, from creation to production to distribution, access, and participation. This meeting today provides a unique opportunity to discuss what the international community can do and should do to advance the digital transformation in the creative industries. Recommendations from this meeting will serve as stepping stones to the discussions at the third World Conference on Creative Economy in Bali. UNCTAD is ready to support countries in developing regulatory frameworks for the digital creative industries and in boosting their creative economy ecosystems. I wish you a successful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marisa Henderson, Chief of the Creative Economy Program at UNCTAD. You made some very important observation, and the question that you asked, I would like you to keep that in mind, maybe for the Q&A later today, that, to discuss what the international community can do and should do to advance the digital transformation in the creative industries. My first time hearing about creative economy came by a colleague from the Indonesian mission. When he came to talk on what to do, Marisa just talked about the International Year of Creative Economy. In that process, that's where I heard about creative economy and the orange economy and the nice lunches that we had at the Indonesian mission. So we're thanking you in addition of the thanks that Marisa already gave you. So, with no further ado, I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Armanata Nasir, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Indonesia to the UN. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my old friend Raymond. I'm sorry that today we're not able to provide you Indonesian lunch because we're not allowed to bring food to this room. But I think we're providing you an example of some of the creative result and the outcome of the creative economy. I think all of you should have a little packages which we brought all the way from Indonesia as an example of the creative, the production of our creative economy in Indonesia. So, Excellencies, Madam Maria, panelists, colleagues, very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us today in promoting partnership and digitalization in creative economy. I thank UNCTAD for co-organizing this event with Indonesia. Let me also begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all the panelists today. In particular, I want to extend my sincere thank to Mr. Kikashan and also Mr. Yegang for making the long journey from Indonesia and Singapore. Just to let you know, they arrived yesterday and they will be leaving right after this meeting. So they only came for this meeting, 24-hour journey. So colleagues, The role of a creative economy in overall economic development is steadily increasing over the past few years. This is particularly true in developing countries. According to UNCTAD, creative economy contributes around 3% to the global GDP. In Indonesia, the economy also closely correlates to the medium small enterprises, so MSMEs. Together, they contribute around 70% of our total GDP. But their potential contribution to globally can still be much more. This is just a small part of what they can contribute. It was for this reason in 2019, like said earlier, that Indonesia, with a number of countries, initiated a resolution to make 2021 the year of international creative economy. However, like all other economic sectors, the pandemic slowed down the positive momentum and the growth of the creative economy. But the pandemic also taught us in Indonesia a very important lesson for the creative economy sector, to be resilient and to continue to grow in a changing world full of challenges where often direct physical interaction can be challenging. Creative economy and MSMEs need to evolve. In Indonesia, we saw this as an opportunity. We saw the power and opportunity of digitalization as a vehicle to help creative economy and MSMEs to evolve. I think we can describe this in Indonesia with two words, two very strategic words, partnership and collaboration. We encourage the big digital companies with their powerful digital platform to engage in a win-win collaboration and partnership with MSMEs in creative economy. Today, I'm happy to share with you that there will be two practitioners from Indonesia, both from the big digital platform and from the MSMEs. We will hear from the different panelists today describing how partnership and collaboration enhances resilience, making the sector stronger in the post-pandemic world, moving us, of course, closer to our SDG targets. We'll also hear areas where strong partnership and collaboration are needed, such as in the creative skills schools, digital literacy, affordability and digital infrastructure for users, and of course, entrepreneurship. I look forward to the presentation that will be given by our panelists today. But let me end just by saying that the key word in creative economy is creative. So we must look at creative ways to ensure that the creative economy evolves, and to think outside the box on how to help and the sector thrive and grow. So thank you very much, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. The key word in creative economy is creative, so we got to be creative. And with this resolution, one creative way has been found, because it was not easy to get an SG report. The delegations, they didn't agree to another report. So the creative economy outlook that Marisa just hinted on is going to have a dedicated section, especially reporting on how the International Year of Creative Economy was celebrated. That was like creative solution to report on creative economy to the General Assembly. So thank you very much. So now I would like your attention for the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Dr. Santiago Uno. He will, his message, he will have a video message for us. So please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to you all, distinguished guests, Secretary General Greenspan of UNCTAD, Permanent Representative Nasir of Indonesia, speakers, excellencies, colleagues, and all creative participants. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, it is estimated that Indonesia's creative economy GDP grew positively by 4.05%. Even then, our estimation suggested that it will contribute 7.35% to the national GDP. Moreover, Indonesia's creative economy export is estimated to reach $23.9 billion, the highest figure from the last 5 years. 3 subsectors are projected to dominate the sector. Television, radio grew 9.48%. Applications and game development rose 9.17%. And architecture jumped by 7.23%. However, digital gaps are still the main issues. There are still limited digital penetrations and literacy that confront our nations. Digital infrastructures are also sporadic and expensive, favoring big cities and tech-savvy communities. What we could do is to increase affordability to digital access for peripherals, more literacy assistance, and partnership with major technology companies. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will hear from prominent policymakers and creative players in navigating their way during the pandemics. A special personal shout out to Kikashan, one of Indonesia's creative players who is enthusiastic about the new economy that is digital and creative. I think that the future of Kikashan is certainly going to be able to inspire a lot of younger Indonesians. This year, we are hosting the 3rd editions of the World Conference on Creative Economy with the theme of Inclusively Creative, a Global Recovery. We are determined to sketch the recovery roadmap from the lens of creative economy. The WCCE 2022 will be held in the island of Bali on 5th to 7th October 2022, and it will be the confluence of engagement and partnership between government policymakers and non-government actors. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, creativity is the main catalyst. Spread the creative sense to yourself and others, because a sensible civilization will be preserved when creativity is rendered at the center of decision making. I thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We thank His Excellency Dr. Sandiaga Uno, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia, for that statement. And the information that there is going to be a 3rd World Conference in Bali, Indonesia this year is reiterating Indonesia's commitment to creative economy. So with the statement of His Excellency Sandiaga Uno, we came to the end of the opening segment, and we will now turn to the panel discussion. And the first speaker of the panel is Her Excellency Ms. Maria Francesca Spatolizano. She is Acting Secretary General, Technological Envoy, and Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. May I invite you?
Thank you so much, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear colleagues. Thank you, the Indonesian Mission, for inviting me here today to discuss this fascinating topic. It is closely related to the key challenges of digital transformation, one of the UN priorities, as well as the Indonesian G20 presidency. So if we look at the economy, and Bashu will allow me to look at the economy side for a moment, as our opening speakers have noted, leveraging the creative economy effectively is critical to ensuring a robust recovery from COVID. As we heard, the creative economy contributes, depending how you define it, but let's say over 6% of global GDP. The average is between 2 and 7% of national GDPs in countries around the world. And about half of the workers in the creative economy are women. And this industry is employing more youth than any other sector, which means that boosting the sector can help lift the diverse segments of society, and is particularly important in developing countries which are young, have young populations. Indeed, the creative, but not only, I come from Italy, you know, I'm very partial to creative economy. Indeed, the creative economy has become a key contributor. It's a new prospect to diversifying the economies and allowing us to leapfrog into new, highly productive sectors towards achieving the sustainable development goals. At the same time, like other industries, the creative economy was seriously impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, and this pandemic resulted in significant losses for countless businesses, leading to serious disruptions, including, of course, in many creative firms. However, in many sectors, including this one, it has been through the innovative use of digital technologies that businesses and organizations have been able to survive, adapt, and operate. And in fact, studies suggest that COVID has accelerated the digitalization of the entire global economy by as much as 8 years. Nevertheless, this push to accelerate digitalization has also brought about numerous challenges, in particular because we want digital transformation is done in a sustainable, safe, and inclusive manner. Not any digital transformation is good. There is a lot of criteria and values which we need to uphold. And this mirrors the broader challenge of our online space and emerging technologies, potential, but also need for governance. So a broad holistic approach and longer term policy responses are needed to ensure that the creative economy continues to flourish and thrive in the future. We should provide better support to ensure the inclusion of micro, small, and medium enterprises in the creative economy as part of digital transformation, including in terms of access to what? Finance, to markets, and the services in the digital sphere. And in particular, I would add skills development and capacity building are crucial. So we can include more actors. Now, the economy, I'm done with the economy. The economy is made of people, human beings. And here we need to recognize the unique challenges faced by workers in many sectors in creative industries who might require also a different kind of approach. Further support, not only in technical ways, but also looking at the nature of the activities, especially if you have freelancers, self-employed, you have to think stability, support to individuals. National initiatives should also be therefore supported by this awareness and partnership. Lastly, let's talk about the digital transformation from the UN perspective. As many of you are aware, issues related to the digital economy and digital transformation and global digital cooperation were also mentioned in the Secretary General, our Common Agenda report, where digital is a key cross-cutting priority, and it is anchored, of course, in UN values. As we look forward to the Global Digital Compact as a key outcome of the Summit of the Future, what we are discussing today is extremely important. The Office of the Tech Envoy has made a public call for inputs to this compact on our website, and I encourage you all to contribute to this. In addition, the digital economy, among other internet governance issues, will also be discussed at the multi-stakeholder Internet Governance Forum in November, end of November, from 28th of November to 2nd of December this year in Ethiopia, where the overarching theme is resilient internet for a shared, sustainable, and common future. So I hope that you all can join the forum. It's a hybrid, either online or in person, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency Maria Francesca Spacolistano, Acting Secretary General, Technology and FOI, and Assistant Secretary General of UNCTAD. And thank you for affirming the role of the contribution of creative economy to the economy and the role that digital transformation played during the pandemic, and for the invitation to contribute to the compact and to the forum that's going to be in Ethiopia. So you're all invited to attend. Ms. Patolisano said the economy is people. And I know that women work, you know, a lot of women, there's a high percentage of women in creative economy, but also young people, and also in the digital economy. So I would now like to invite Mr. Kikashan Bangaret, owner of PT Harapan Bangsa Kita. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. It's really an honor to be here. Allow me to start with something simple. A banana. We call it pisang in Bahasa Indonesia. I happen to be the son of the president. I don't choose to be one, but it happens like that. Many people thought that I'm gonna start with a big business, with a huge capital, but no. Instead, I started a small business with a brand called Sang Pisang. Why do I start small? Why banana? Actually, I want to train myself and learn to deal with many problems that may arise with it. As for a banana, it's actually available all over Indonesia. It's not a seasonal fruit. And I believe that there's no shortage of banana in the future. I started my business back in 2017 with a 6 square meters outlet. In 2019, I had around 100 kind of outlets all over Indonesia. At that time, our focus is actually to grow by expanding the number of our outlets. Meanwhile, we also strengthened our foundation of our business even better just before the pandemic came. When COVID-19 began on March 2020 in Indonesia, it actually affected our business operation. Social restriction everywhere is affecting our operation. At that time, 90% of our sales came from offline sales. The rest 10% it came from the online services. This resulted in our operation and our income to decrease drastically. We were forced to close down 40 of our outlets and 60 to survive. We also have to give up one of our brand called Ternak Kopi. It was a small coffee shop with 30 outlets at that time. Me and my partner standing right there, had a tough decision to make between focusing on Sang Pisang or saving Ternak Kopi. In the end, we decided to focus on Sang Pisang. The pandemic actually brought us many lessons, especially for us who just started to develop and to grow. We are encouraged to adapt quickly, make a decision, and to perform some previously unthinkable efficiency. Currently, our sales shifted from offline to online as part of adapting to the digital platform to reach the market which have limited mobility. Apart from that, we also try to force ourselves to make a partnership with some various companies and companies, something that actually we didn't really think about it before. However, not all SME can adapt that kind of situation quickly. Not all SME wanted from going from conventional to digital. That is why development of digital-based SME actually is required, and it needs a support from various parties. I believe that fellow SME that has already entered to the companies that adapt digital platform must help the other SME also. We also believe that we cannot grow alone. That is why several partners and I have launched a program to strengthen SME in Indonesia. Not only to go through this pandemic together, but also to foresee the potential in the future. Through our podcast program and YouTube channel, we open up a discussion forum with a fellow SME. Hear the first hand of their problems, find out the solution together, and also establish a partnership together. This program also received a big support from our national private radio network back in Indonesia. So we hope that more SME can learn from its fellow entrepreneur. This program also offers up opportunities to bring together SME with new partners. To conclude, SME in Indonesia have a direct impact to the community. It was even recorded that SME actually was one of the sectors that was not affected by the financial crisis back in Indonesia. However, the COVID-19 pandemic brought us many valuable lessons. SME players have to have a stronger foundation through efficiency, utilization of technology, as well as to healthy collaboration and partnership. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Kikashan Pangarat, owner of PT Harapan Bangsa Kita, for your statement, but also for reminding of the challenges of micro, small, and medium enterprises and entrepreneurs, and the challenges they have going through the pandemic, and that digital transformation and partnership is a way to help them to succeed going further. Now, I would like to turn to Her Excellency Maria del Carmen Smith, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Argentina to the United Nations.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Ambassador Almanata Nasir and the whole delegation of Indonesia Mission. For me, it's an honor to be here in this side event of the high-level political forum organized by UNCTAD and the Permanent Mission of Indonesia to the United Nations, which aims to generate a space for dialogue and the promotion of alliances and digitalization in the creative economy in the context of the post-pandemic recovery. Dear colleagues, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in the world had a hard impact on the creative and culture sector, especially in Latin America and the Caribbean, where at least 2.6 million shops were affected as a result of the restriction implemented in the different countries. The sanitary measures adopted especially affected this sector, impacting in its entire value chain and weakening the situation of culture workers, which are mainly independent or part of a micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, many of them part of the informal economy. In Argentina, for example, data shows that this industry was the third most affected by the pandemic. In this critical context, it was necessary to work to care for the needs of art workers and assist them to get through this exceptional situation. That is why my country made a historic investment in public policy dedicated to this industry during the years 2020 and 2021, and combining more than 100,000 culture workers, 50,000 culture companies, and 50,000 culture spaces and organizations, thus aiming to maintain the sector afloat and guarantee the well-being of those who depended on it. Today, after 2 years of enormous difficulties, we can begin to think about the recovery of our society and economies. And in this task, the culture industries has a fundamental role beyond the importance of art and culture for a people. It can play a very important role in achieving inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth and development. Creative economies have an enormous impact on the creation of full and productive employment, decent and quality work with a high export potential of fostering social inclusion and generated added value in strategic sectors that today have new markets and new demands and enormous potential of growth. That is why it is of utmost importance to continue generating tools through public policy to support these industries, accompanying them in their growth. But all this would be incomplete if we do not make an effort to incorporate innovative technologies into our culture policy. In the 21st century, it is clear that many human activities have migrated to virtually, and this forces us to understand and use the growth opportunity offered by the digital space. The COVID-19 pandemic has only deepened a trend that was already underway. This is why the elimination of the digital divide, both between countries and within them, must be one of our main objectives. Also, in the culture industry sector, we must guarantee universal access to technological resources. Speaking especially of creative economies and digitalization, I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you about the enriching experience that Argentina has launched in this regard. More than 10 years ago, my country launched the program called Argentina Culture Industry Market, which had the aim of becoming the center of the system of public policy for the training and linking of producers, companies, and professionals of local culture and international industry. During 2021, we presented the digital platform for the next edition of the Argentina Culture Industry Market. The program aims at the digital and financial inclusion of culture producers and intermediate economic segment, while also providing for activities such as business rounds, training, and marketing. The first of this digital platform means a very important event in relation to our development model. Not only of culture, it is symbolic dimension, but also in what has to do with work and the generation of foreign exchange. With this launch, our country went from assisting the culture sector due to the pandemic to a new stage with the aim of promoting production and innovative work. The digital universe as a space for the circulation of cultural income in one of today's greatest challenges, which continues to grow. This is the way we must advance to achieve a true democratization of culture. To finish, I would like to thank once more the organizers for this event, for giving me the opportunity to participate in this panel that addresses a central issue for the development agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Maria del Carmen Schiff, Permanent Representative of Argentina to the United Nations. I've heard so that Argentina was leading in the Latin American and Caribbean region on creative economy. And it's good to hear about your public policy on creative economy, and that it's geared to helping the recovery of the society and the economies through art and culture. So thank you very much for that. And the reaffirmation that we need to close the digital divide and to help the community to get access to digital technologies. Talking about digital technologies, the next statement is going to be done through a video, and that is from Professor Jen Snowball, who is the head of the Department of Economics, Rhoden University, South Africa.
Hello, my name is Prof. Jen Snowball, and I'm a researcher at the South African Cultural Observatory and a professor of economics at Rhodes University in South Africa. The African experience of the creative economy during the COVID-19 period was one of particular vulnerability. And this was especially because a lot of the businesses that operate in the sector are informal, have a high proportion of freelancers or gig economy workers that are employed on a short-term contract basis, are very small size, and have mandatory face-to-face production and consumption modes. We did, however, find that those who could shift online, so move to digital platforms, were able to be more resilient. In South Africa, a recent South African Cultural Observatory mapping study showed that the cultural and creative industries contributed 3% to South Africa's GDP and account for 6% of all the jobs. Part of what the South African Cultural Observatory did was to run a survey in 2020 and 2021 to ask firms and freelancers working in the creative economy to what extent they could continue with their normal business activities during lockdown. As you can see from these results, the 2020 year during a hard lockdown was very bad for business continuity, with less than 10% in most cases being able to continue with most of their business activities. Business continuity did improve in 2021, but there was still a minority of respondents, less than a third, who reported being able to continue with most of their business. Business disruptions were worst for those operating in a mostly face-to-face mode, for those who were operating informally, and for freelancers. Continuity strategies definitely showed the shift to online modes of production. Between 2020 and 2021, the top continuity strategy shifted to being the move to online business. Other continuity strategies used were upskilling or training, and greater flexibility in allowing work from home. Key stakeholder interviews revealed that some groups were more vulnerable than others, and this may continue not just in the short term, but also in the longer term. While the financial impact on the cultural and creative industries has been severe for everyone, some businesses have managed to shift their business activities online very successfully in terms of maintaining continuity, but few of them have managed to effectively monetize that content. Key stakeholders also talked about the worry that emerging or early career creatives are struggling, since they don't have the existing networks or track record or online presence that allows them to make that shift very effectively. In terms of useful support going forward, the categories that were rated as very useful or essential by the largest groups of respondents were skills and advice about how to move business activities online effectively, and information about how to engage with and access online platforms. In conclusion, the South African creative economy makes a valuable contribution to the economy, to employment, and to international trade. It also contributes to the sustainable development goals in terms of overall welfare, in terms of both market and non-market ways. The sector has been damaged by COVID-19, but we are seeing signs of slow recovery. We need support to enable the micro enterprises that dominate the sector to pivot to hybrid business models and to monetize and protect their content. We also need support for early creatives, early career creatives who struggle to develop the networks that are so vital for survival in the gig economy. And finally, we want to build a strong South African brand that drives international trade. Thank you for listening. All this information is available via the South African Cultural Observatory website.
Thank you very much, Professor Jan Snowball. The good thing with academics is, when you can think of and you can observe a trend, but the academics will give it to you in numbers because of the research and so on. And that's very good because we could think what these digital creators would want, but the strongest going forward, they say, we want skills to move business online. So you see that the theme of this meeting is very timely in that sense. We would like now to invite Mr. Jay Gang, Group Chief Operating Officer, C, Singapore.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raymond, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador Masata, for inviting me to talk, to speak on this very important topic. C is an internet company from Southeast Asia. We are listed here in the New York Stock Exchange with a market cap of $40 billion US. In Indonesia, we operate Shopee, a large e-commerce platform. We are a proud technology investor in Indonesia, having invested billions of dollars and employ over 30,000 people in Indonesia. Shopee, our e-commerce platform, was born in Indonesia in 2015 before expanding to other countries in Southeast Asia and in Latin America. Today, I would like to share Shopee's experience in Indonesia, where many of our micro SME partners, including those from creative economy sectors, are not only surviving the pandemic, but also thriving afterwards through digitalization. Shopee is a marketplace, different from our counterparts here in the US, such as Amazon. We purely rely on sellers, especially small sellers, to provide the goods and services. More than 95% of the orders on Shopee are from micro SMEs or individuals. Among them, a very big portion are from the creative economy sectors, such as fashion designers and handicraft makers. When the pandemic hit in 2020 and 2021, it was a very difficult time for many micro SMEs and individuals. Many of them only sold goods in person in their local markets. And the pandemic made it very difficult to sell goods in person. So their livelihood suffered. They had to try everything to survive. Then it came the marketplace e-commerce in Indonesia, such as Shopee. It worked out very well for these people. Many of them were able to sustain their businesses throughout the pandemic, bringing home the essential income that kept the families alive. That contributed partially to Indonesia's economy being one of the more resilient ones in the world during the pandemic. Post-pandemic, something magical happened. The online selling experience opened up the small sellers' eyes to the business opportunities outside their local markets to national or even international level, and helped many of them to thrive further and beyond. Let me share a real story with you that captured this well. Ian is the founder of a batik making workshop called Shiroshima. Batik, which I'm wearing today, is an Indonesian traditional clothes. Each pattern is beautifully designed and carries a unique meaning. Ian started Shiroshima in 2019, just before the pandemic, with 4 designers. As was common at the time, she mainly sold her products physically at the local city department stores. When the pandemic hit, selling physically was no longer sustainable. So she decided to start selling her products online on Shopee. This widened her customer base from local markets to the whole of Indonesia and even overseas. As a result, Dian's business has grown quickly, and now she employs 23 batik designers. Like Dian, many sellers have experienced success selling to a wider audience on Shopee. Online marketplace essentially created a much bigger retail ecosystem on top of the traditional physical retail economy. The pie has become much bigger, and everyone, especially the small guys, gets a share. Today, more than on Shopee every month by making or selling products online. It's not much, maybe $100 a month, but that's a very sizable monthly income for majority of our sellers from the rural areas and the villages. Shopee is also able to help the small sellers export their products to the international market. Local sellers make the products, and Shopee takes care of the rest, from logistics, custom clearance, payment, and most importantly, direct access to consumers in overseas markets where Shopee has a presence. Millions of products get exported from Indonesia small sellers on Shopee every month. Indonesia now is the largest source of Muslim wear fashion products on Shopee internationally. In all, marketplace e-commerce platforms such as Shopee played a critical role in helping micro SME and individuals in the creative economy sector not only surviving the pandemic, but thriving post-pandemic. And we are very proud of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Indeed, Mr. Idan, you should be very proud. And thank you for sharing the practical information, what is really happening on the ground in Indonesia, but also I think in Singapore. So that's very good information. I'm hearing a couple of Indonesian words that I know by heart, particularly. Mr. Kikashan talked about pisang. We have another Surinamese here. Many people will not know the connection between Suriname and Indonesia. We have an Indonesian Javanese contingent, and so I know pisang goreng. I like it very much. For those of you who don't understand, that's fried plantain.
Yeah.
So with no further ado, we would like to go to the next presenter, which was Dr. Rafaelita M. Aldaba, Undersecretary for the Competitiveness and Innovation Group of the Philippines Department of Trade and Industry, who will speak to us through video message.
Greetings and a pleasant day to all. My name is Rafaelita Aldaba from the Philippines, Department of Trade and Industry. We fully recognize the creative industry's potential to contribute to economic growth. The creative sector contributes around 7% of the country's gross domestic product and accounts for 12% of total employment. Just like many countries, the pandemic severely affected our creative sectors. Estimates showed that the local creative industries experienced about 90% revenue loss and a decline in employment by 55% due to the early lockdowns and quarantines. While the pandemic revealed the fragility of several creative industries, especially venue-dependent industries like the performing arts and visual arts, it has also led to the adoption and acceleration of digital transformation in the sector. Local establishments have pivoted towards the digital space, harnessing the power of innovation as they continued to operate during the pandemic. This was indicated not only by the growth of Netflix subscribers in the Philippines, but also by the growth of theater shows, local museums, exhibits, sales, and tours that are utilizing online platforms. The pandemic has offered the necessary buffer for cultural and creative enterprises in the Philippines to reposition their businesses and develop their digital transformation strategies. For us in the government, the pandemic triggered initiatives to strengthen our partnerships with industry academe, legislators, and other stakeholders to support the creative industry's survival. There are a number of government agencies that are mandated to support the creative sector. Prior to the pandemic, there was not much discussion among the agencies and stakeholders. With the pandemic, we realized the need to transcend silos as well as to collaborate and work together in addressing the survival and recovery of the sector from the impact of the pandemic, along with addressing the old challenges preventing the sector from growing. Amid the pandemic, a new bill focusing on the development of the creative industry was crafted, and roadmaps and action plans were formulated through strong government, academe, and industry collaboration. Together with stakeholders, we developed 6 creative industry roadmaps, and currently we are crafting 8 additional roadmaps and creating the creative satellite accounts. The Creative Industry Development Act is already at the Office of the President for signing. Recognizing the important role of the creative sector to propel economic development and progress, the revival of the creative sector will be critical for ensuring an inclusive post-pandemic recovery. The disruption arising from the pandemic encouraged cooperation among stakeholders and the adoption of a whole-of-society approach that was previously missing. It is important for countries to come together and forge collaboration and partnerships for stronger measures to support digital transformation and innovation in the creative industry, strengthen partnerships to bridge the gap in resources, and help groups that may have fallen through the cracks, and foster an enabling environment to unlock the sector's potentials. As we embrace the adoption of new technologies and innovation, let us all work together and collaborate in pursuing the growth and development of sustainable and inclusive creative industries. Thank you very much.
We thank Dr. Rafaelita Aldaba, Undersecretary for the Competitiveness and Innovation Group of the Philippines Department of Trade and Industry, for her statement, but also for reminding and reaffirming the necessity of digital transformation for the survival of creative economy, the creative industry through the pandemic. Now I would like to turn to the last but not least panelist, Ms. Kikashan Bashu, founder and president of Green Hope Foundation, who I know also went to Suriname. There's a coincidence with me being the moderator of Suriname. Today I just showed Mr. Gang that the ambassador of Singapore went to talk to the Minister of Economy of Suriname. It was in the papers. We're talking about pisang goreng and you have the floor, madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. And yes, we at Green Hope Foundation are always appreciative of the fact we have very close working relationship with both Suriname and Indonesia. Actually, we have active members in both of these countries. So thank you to UNCTAD and to the government of Indonesia for the invitation. I am very happy to be here today, sharing this space with all of you to speak on such an important topic. So as every single person here knows and has highlighted, we know just how much the pandemic has amplified all of the inequalities there, one of which is, of course, the digital divide. And digital dividends have coexisted with digital divides for quite some time now. It's just that the pandemic has shown us just how wide this gap is. And now, as we speak about recovery mechanisms, digitalization is really looked upon as this pillar that is absolutely necessary for growth and building resilience. But the fact remains that a large portion of the world's population still does not have access to it. And unique sectors as well are reeling from the impact of this digital divide, one of which, of course, is the creative economy. So as we strive to not build back better, but actually build forward more equal, it is really imperative that we do everything in our power, stakeholders coming in from all areas of work, to really ensure that we bridge this digital divide and address its unique complexities that are there so that we are able to rebuild our creative economy. Today, there have been some amazing examples that have been shared from different stakeholders. The perspective that I will be bringing for here today is from us as a grassroots organization working across 26 countries with over 300,000 people at Green Hope Foundation. And I will cite examples from 3 of the country chapters that we work in: Bangladesh, India, and Liberia. So in all of these countries, we work in the very rural communities. In Bangladesh, for instance, in the rural communities there, during the pandemic, we started a solar-powered sewing school for the women and girls, particularly for the women and girls, because we realized that the economic scenario there was terrible. The creative economy in all of these areas that we worked in, it was largely informal, and the way that it was led in the rebuilding efforts, it was almost non-existent. The women and girls, and bringing them into the creative economy in that sense, in a more formal way, and by providing them with the tools and skill sets to pursue that and actually use the creative economy to build local circular economies in their own spheres of influence, was one of the ways we were able to rebuild using clean energy technology and helping to promote this digitalization in those communities. And that was when we realized how we could use clean energy technologies in the form of solar power all across the world. So that is just one example of how we were able to use the technology, and particularly clean technology, to really facilitate this just transition. The second example I will give is of our solar-powered mobile libraries. The particular example I'm giving is in Bangladesh and India, in Western India. And these are very unique tools. They are run by our local members, the local young members, and the solar-powered mobile library takes books to the doorstep of thousands of children who've been forced to drop out of school with climate change, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and many of them will probably never return to school. So this is a way for us to provide them with that education, and more so using art as a medium of communication, because a lot of the children actually don't know how to read and write in these communities. So it's a way for us to, again, provide them using creativity and creative modes of communication with the tools and skill sets to rebuild. And the last example I'll give is of computer literacy and the education programs that we are running to provide young people, and particularly young girls, with the skill sets to get good jobs, more not just in the cities, but also create new jobs in their rural environments. So we have a solar-powered computer lab in Western India, and we have a solar-powered school in the rural communities of Liberia. And in both of these instances, we have seen tremendous success when we have educated the young people of the villages, taking them away from the vicious cycle of drugs and crime, and actually providing them with the necessary tools, and with that education using digitalization. And we have now seen that several of them have been able to get good jobs, have been able to uplift their community, and have actually are contributing to the creative economy, because a lot of them are using the creative modes of communication that we impart during these programs of art and music. But these are just 3 examples of the work that we do. And honestly, what we have seen working on the ground is that this is just a drop in a very, very vast ocean. If we are to really rebuild better and build forward equal and rebuild our creative economy, it does require the contribution of all stakeholders, government, large institutions, private sector, and civil society, where we all bring our unique voices to the table and see how we can move forward and ensure this just transition. And with digitalization, in particular, in bridging the digital divide, only once we bring together all voices will we be able to actually achieve this goal. What we have seen, and just to conclude very quickly, what we have seen is that there's also a tremendous data gap that exists in conjunction with the digital divide, because we still don't see the different stakeholders communicating with one another, and therefore this data gap exists where some people don't know what information to use to act upon, or the information is there, but the action is not being taken. So we need to bridge both the data gap and the digital divide to rebuild our creative economy and really leverage this power of digitalization so that we truly leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kikashan Bashu, the founder and president of Green Hope Foundation, for your statement, but also for reminding of the biggest challenge, basically, now that we're identifying that digitalization is a solution, and also can help with the creative economy to recover better. And you touched on the digital divide that is there, and showed with the examples in Bangladesh, Liberia, and India, how in a practical way, even if it's on community level, some of the solutions were brought and to help empower children, especially those that dropped out because of the pandemic from school, to art and as a medium of communication. So thank you very much. Did we have excellent panelists, ladies and gentlemen? I think they deserve it. So now I understand you've been invited to 3:30 p.m. and some of you may want to stay longer, but this is what I understand. So we have some time for some questions and answers. I had at the beginning of the meeting put a question on the table. Well, not me, I just repeated what Marisa Henderson, our Chief of Creative Economy, had said, that this is a unique opportunity to discuss what the international community can do and should do to advance the digital transformation in the creative industries. But we are at the creative economy meeting, so you may have your own questions that you would want to address to the panel, or you may also want to help us to answer, come up with some answers to this question. So I would like to open up now for the audience. So any of you who would like to ask a question or maybe make an intervention, you have the opportunity now. So, yes, sir, and then maybe you can mention your name and then take it away from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First of all, Patata, Maria, and others in the panels, thank you very much for organizing this very important I wouldn't want to call it a side event, it's very central, the issues that you are discussing, and especially hearing the representatives from, I guess, creative thinkers that we have here in the panels. I just make a quick comment and then just have one question. The comment I'd like to make is that the creative economy will always be there. It's not inevitable, it's the byproduct of, I guess, youthful entrepreneurship coming to the front. In my view, the pandemic has just, in a sense, accelerated that with digitalization and other technologies that are available. And especially in light of the with industrial revolution and other technologies that are happening, this is really the time for the creative economy to really take forward and move forward. So that's the comment I'd like to make. And I'm very pleased, I understand also Indonesia, as the chair of G20, has this very much in mind. Thailand, as the chair of the APEC, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, also has this in mind. I think we work closely together to advance on this. But my question then is really to the entrepreneurs and to the the various associations, I guess the younger generation present here, we all know what the challenges are. How do you, if you had a wish list of two things, what governments can do to use digital technology or other things to help your creative energies be realized, what would you ask from us? And equally important, how could an organization like the United Nations, and especially ECOSOC here, which we're having the high-level political forum, what can we do concretely to facilitate work and make you realize your creative energy? So I guess I'll put that very broad question, because I'm a diplomat, I'm not a specialist. And also with my hidden hat of the Vice President of the Economic and Social Council, this is something that is very dear to us, so that we can make sure that your ideas are reflected in the outcomes that we'll have the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Vice President of ECOSOC. Let me see if there is another question, and then we could take them together with the question by the Vice President of ECOSOC. Please state your name, and I know who you are, but still.
So good afternoon. Thank you, Raymond. I'm Laila from the Philippine Mission. Ambassador Nasir, thank you very much for this event. It's a very important event for the Philippines. Of course, thank you as well to all the panelists. It's been your presentations have been very insightful, both in person and those presented virtually. I first, before I ask, I have a question, but before I ask, I just like to thank Indonesia, a very dear friend of the Philippines, for indeed leading us or leading us to this creative economy agenda in the UN, starting with the adoption of the resolution that declared last year as the International Year of Creative Economy. The Philippines co-sponsored this resolution because we do see the value and the merit and the critical importance of advancing excellence in creativity for economic development, as well as for the self-expression of individuals on the ground. So my question is actually to Mr., and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Kikashan. Yes, and I hope I can call you Kikashan, as you do look like you could be my son already.
That's a compliment.
So Kikashan, I was very impressed with to hear that first I hear with the president's son, and it was quite impressive to hear that while you had the opportunity to do so, we decisively chose to start small with the focus on our ever dependable global banana. So that was very it's remarkable. And I would like to ask a question very related to the question that was asked by the Thai ambassador. Actually, from the perspective of an MSME actor, how or what can be done to survive in this pandemic in some parts of the world post-pandemic era? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leela. There is a request from the back at the door, somewhere there. Yes, just press the microphone. You'll see the light will come on. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you to all of the guest speakers as well. My name is Isabel Dawson. I have a question for Mr. Gagne.
Oh.
What are the challenges for helping SMEs, especially in Indonesia, with digitalization, and how can a tech company like C be actively involved in solving this issue? Thank you.
Did you get the question?
Yes.
You have it?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh, your mic is still on, Leila. Okay, so we'll go to a first round then to the panel. There are some specific questions. One is to Mr. Pangara, and then one is to Mr. Yegang. So maybe we can take Mr. Yegang and then to Mr. Pangara, and then we go to the more general question on what it is that government should do or can do, what it is that maybe the ECOSOC can do. The Vice President, the Ambassador of Thailand is here, so he'll take it in his pocket to his bureau. This is what they told us that we need to do. So please, Mr. Gan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think one of the main challenges for us in Indonesia, as what I think Ms. Bashu also has mentioned, is actually in the digital literacy of the micro SMEs and the individuals. Not every actor is ready to participate in this digital economy, and we don't want them to be left behind. And as mentioned, Shopee is a business rely on the small sellers. Actually, it's in our every interest to make sure that all the sellers and the individuals, they are digitally literate and equipped to do business online. So we need to proactively engage these micro SMEs and the individuals. So there are a few initiatives that we have taken to making this happen. So one example is a Shopee campus. A Shopee campus is actually a physical location where we have a building and we have our trainers inside, and we engage the local communities to invite the people around the area to come and learn how to do business online. We have a live streaming, photo studios, live streaming in the studios. We teach people how to list their products online, how to market their products, how to take a good photo of it, and also how to handle the logistics and everything. So for those, we have those physical locations available in Indonesia to teach people how to do business online. And this Shopee campus is available in all the major cities in Indonesia. Another example is also similar, but one level, a few levels lower to the village level. So for example, in West Java, there are 5,300 villages, and we had a program with the government to have a Shopee digital center in every village. It's very simple, and it's a very simple. It's just at a place in the village. They provide us with a room. We put a laptop there, and we hire a part-time volunteer to teach people how to buy or sell online. And we have those. We are rolling out the program, and then we have a few thousand villages already having those village centers. And on top of those things, we are putting the doing business online into some of the curriculums of the technical schools to teach people the skills. And yeah, so I think through these efforts, we hope to make the population more digital literate and participate more actively in the digital economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gan. Mr. Pangala.
So yeah, thank you for the question. So actually, the pandemic forced us to be more efficient in running our business. So when the pandemic came in Indonesia, the first thing that I've done actually business efficiency to survive. Other than that is to adapt quickly on the marketing strategy. One of them is to use digital platform like Shopee to reach the market in the midst of social limitation. So yeah, thank you Shopee for opening up new market for us.
Thank you for doing business.
Thank you. This was great if you joined us. Send the deal right here at the meeting. So we gonna have us, provide opportunity for the panel to maybe making concluding remarks. But if at this moment you have a question or maybe something you want to say, then if you don't say it, you will not sleep well tonight. This is your opportunity. Yes, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor. My name is Bang Lee, working at the South Korea mission and covering economic social issues, including digital cooperation. Thank you, Ambassador and Indonesian government for organizing this precious event. I'm very familiar with the terms of pisang goreng and batik because I worked at Korean embassy to Jakarta in Indonesia 8 years ago. So I vividly remember creative person friends in Indonesia. I still connected with them. Thank you. And it's not a question. Let me just share with you about Korea's experience regarding data, open data strategy, because data economy is one of the important creative economy fields. So to promote data economy, we believe that the opening public data to the citizens and SMEs and startups is very important. So we actually made the strategy of opening public data, and we made the implementation plan and guidelines so that government every government agencies should follow that guideline so that open their data to the public and secure the quality of data. So we made this integrated public open data portal, which is data.go.kr, providing 50,000 data sets from almost 1,000 public institutions, including local government. So we assess, we have annual evaluation of open data provision and management, something like that. Also, as Ambassador mentioned, the collaboration and partner is very important. So we established the platform to promote startups using the data that already to the public. So I hope Korea's experience will be helpful, and our government is ready to share our experience. The newly inaugurated President Yoon actually announced the vision which is government as a digital platform. That vision actually will promote the digital economy and creative economy. Thank you.
Thank you. We thank the delegate from the mission of Korea, especially for the invitation and the openness to share the experience on the integrated public data portal, which might be contributing to bridging the digital divide. Anyone else? Yes. And he's the last.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Good afternoon. My name is Ade Abdelhamid, and I am with the Mission of Palestine. I want to thank the Permanent Mission of Indonesia as well as UNCTAD for organizing and convening this important meeting. Just a general question to the panelists. Statistically speaking, the youth have a huge role in digital and creative economy. And given the impact of the pandemic, that was a huge setback for youth internationally. What policies and approaches should be in place in order to re-energize and galvanize the involvement and contributions of youth in creative and digital economy? Thank you.
This is a very great last question. You know, we're talking about the SDGs and the intergenerational, the intergenerational communication that we need. So what I suggest is that we go first to Marisa Anderson, and then we jump the ambassador, then we go to Ambassador Script, Mr. Politano, Mr. Kikashan, and then we give the honor to the ambassador to have the last word and also to close the meeting. So 1, 2 minutes.
Yes.
1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you. I just very grateful for this panel. It was very, very interesting. It was interesting to see how the different speeches complemented each other. I really was impressed. One of the things that Ambassador mentioned, what can we do? How can we help? From my experience and from the International Year of Creative Economy, you will read it in the report, but I'm giving you like the hints that was also to come. UNCTAD was one of the leading agencies, and we received an incredible amount of requests from the civil society, particularly youth, and from women as well. But the number of requests on creative industries to support them in the initiatives, I'm talking about private sector, non-governmental organizations, it was governments. We couldn't cope with all the incredible, many requests that we had, and it encouraged us, the UN, to work as a group and to work together with different agencies. So we have an inter-agency working group to be able to serve member states in their plans. So when you tell me, I think the international, having the resolution in the second committee in the international macroeconomic agenda was very, very powerful. and it shows that the importance not only of the creative economy, the importance of the creativity and how powerful it can be, because there are new technologies that are coming up. And when you mention what can we do with the youth, I think it's very, very important to make the young people aware of the new technologies that will open up in the coming years. There will be there are some technologies that are being used in creative industries, in gaming and so on, that will actually affect the way they will go beyond gaming to it will actually impact the way we dress and we watch TV and we go to the museums and so on. So I think it will be really important for governments to be aware of all this technology and start helping them to support the different targeted population to grow and to be aware of these new changes. So I will stop here.
Thank you. I know you have much more to say as the chief of the creative economy program at UNCTAD. But we invited the people to a certain time. So Ambassador Swift.
Okay, thank you. 2 or 3 things. In 2012, my country implemented a program of Conectar Equality, in Spanish, Conectar Igualdad, that gave computer all the secondary public school. This younger, at the moment, have 22 years old, and is in the work. This is an idea of the effort of my country for digitalization. In another way, in work here in the United Nations, really, during 2 years, we can work by digitalization. And we don't stop working. And I believe it's not directly my ideas in the subject of the meeting, but it's our work in this way, is our contribution for the economic and the politics and the multilateralism. For the reason, I believe, is this pathway we must work and we must pass. And in the third question, in relation with the possibility of all the country, Korea said something very interesting. I believe we must do in this aspect more solidarity for the other countries without possibilities to arrive of this tool, very necessary, very important for development. And for the reason I believe is this kind of meeting is very, very important. Really, congratulations, my friend, and Indonesia, because really it's necessary to work and give the different and important ideas we have shared in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador del Carmen Swift. This is Marco Lizano, SG Text and Board.
Thank you so much. I think there are many things which we can all do, but of course there are different levels of government and national, local, global. I would like to go back to what Mr. Yang said about access. It's amazing what you're doing about access, but I would like to add this. When we talk about access and bridging the global divide, we have to keep in mind that it has to be affordable, of course, for the vast majority of those who do not have access. It's sometimes not even a matter of having the infrastructure. It's a matter of having the means to afford the connection and to pay for it. So that's important. And the skills, I totally agree that it's essential. Another thing which, if we link this reflection to the SDGs, is important is what I hinted at before, social protection systems for those who work in a, by definition, precarious kind of business, and therefore encouraging the countries to have this kind of system in place, which includes universal social protection, of course, is not only for the creative industry, but certainly important for the creative industry. And third, at the more international global level, I would say governments should be promoting open source technologies, which is an important means, you know, to use the data we have, open source. Be inclusive, as you were telling us, but also culturally, open-minded, accepting that, you know, cultural industry are a mix. There are ideas which may be conscious with your own, but it's important to accept that. And finally, from the UN viewpoint, I would encourage all to commit to the Global Digital Compact proposed by the Secretary General, because this is a set of principles we hope that will be agreed next year and will be based on the values and the principles of the Charter, and therefore will guarantee an open, fair, and secure internet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Spartolisano, especially with the last call again to support the Global Digital Compact. Kikashan?
Yes, thank you so much. I will address the Vice President's question in my concluding remarks. So I think dealing with a problem like the digital divide that is so complex, I will reiterate that it does require efforts from all stakeholders, and particularly I feel governments have a very big role to play. One thing that I feel the governments can do is instituting education for sustainable development in all school curriculums. And I say this because the creative economy and contributing to the creative economy is hardly ever spoken about in schools. Students and young people are not given that option or not even taught about it. They don't even know what the creative economy is, let alone how they can contribute to it. But by instituting education for sustainable development, it gives them the tools and skill sets right from their childhood to be able to understand what it is and how they can use their inherent talents to be able to contribute to it. The second thing is, I would say, is what I think both ECOSOC, the United Nations, and governments can do is finance and financing and funding for institutions, organizations, especially those working at the grassroots that are led by young people, by young women, because particularly as young people and young women-led organizations, we do suffer from the funding gap that is also there. So I think governments and large institutions like the United Nations can do a lot to help support such work that is going on the ground, and that actually helps to promote and create these partnerships where we bring in all stakeholders and not just looking at such organizations in a tokenistic manner, but actually recognizing the unique perspectives they bring to the table, and then just really leveraging all of these perspectives and thoughts and viewpoints from government, from institutions, from private sector and civil society to really create this holistic shift towards a sustainable and equitable world where no one's left behind.
Thank you, Kikashan, for putting the finger on the financing and funding and the support, but also education on creative economy. And since this is my last time speaking, I'm going to use the prerogative of the moderator here, speaking in this meeting. UNCTAD, as part of the United Nations Economic Network, work on creative economy, but also on social and solidarity economy. And on the 22nd of July, we will have a side event with the government of Spain and with the International Labour Organization on social and solidarity economy contribution to SDGs. So please do come for that meeting. And then I would like to give the honor and the floor to Ambassador Nasir for his concluding remark and to close the meeting.
Thank you. What's going on? Well, thank you, Raymond. I don't think there's much for me to say, yes, but to say thank you. This has been a very, very rich discussion. And I'm very, very happy that we had this discussion. Many of you have said the panelists that was here, it fits. We have the private sector, we have from the UN and from government. So for me today, I just want to just add a little bit that what my takeaway is we need to address the digital divide. And today I have here my daughter, especially to come here to listen. And at home she called me very nicely, lovely, calls me dad. So I think this is the way to move forward. That's a DAD. So how do we address it? In Indonesia, we address it with that. First, we focus on the digital infrastructure. So over the past 5 years, we've been focusing on enhancing our digital access and infrastructure with the Palapan network to access so that we ensure that internet is accessible to all parts of Indonesia. The second word is access. And this is to ensure that our cooperation with private sectors like Shopee, like Yegan said, is important so that even the villagers have access. And the third item is there. So it's digital literacy. We have made digital literacy as part of our school curriculum. So we injected that. But it's not adding to the curriculum. But what we have done is we simplified our curriculum by making it so simple that only 4 or 5 main curriculum nationally, and digital literacy is one. The rest, it depends on individual schools and individual local governments to add. But the main curriculum includes digital literacy. So that is the way that we have gone forward. And finally, just to conclude, again, the importance of emphasize the importance of partnership and collaboration and outreaching to the private sector. What Yegan earlier said on what Shopee has been doing, that was the result of outreach from the government to Shopee. So the Shopee College, the Shopee mechanism that they're doing, that was the result of collaboration and outreach from the government to Shopee. So I think this should be encouraged by all governments. So with that, I would just like to say thank you very much to all the panelists, and of course to you, Raymond, an old friend, and to the team that made this possible. My team that has worked very hard for the last few weeks, and many of them are leaving soon, and this is their last project. The last project. Thank you.